Why did you connect Circle with an ISA? Did Circle Prospect made you feel like a bigger need for an ISA?
100%. Because with Circle Prospecting, it's a numbers game. What can I do with my time? I can only talk to so many people per day. If I want to get to where I want to go faster, I need to do it. The faster you can spend money, the faster you're going to make money. So I got 4 guys calling for me full time. If we're hitting anywhere from between 350 to 400 contacts per day, that many contacts, it's going to be hard to not do business.
What have been your guys' results from building up this ISA machine?
11 listings in 10 months.
All right, folks, we're back. I've got a great one for you today. I've got Tucker Cummings, really successful real estate agent that decided this year he wanted to start, hiring an ISA and build an ISA team. So, and he's had a lot of success with that. But before we get started and jump into the details, you know how we start these sessions with folks. Tucker, welcome to the show, and give people, a little bit of introduction. Who are you? Where do you work? How'd you get into real estate? And I'd love to segue that intro into why did you feel you needed to hire an ISA? Go for it, Tucker.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess just by my background, I've always been in sales, always had sales jobs. So, coming out of college, I worked in W-2 sales, selling software, and all just a natural gift, I guess, being a salesman. So I was always in the top half of them, or top agent, or whatever at whatever company I was working at. And then one day I come back from vacation. This was June of 2023. Day I get back from vacation, I'm the number 2 sales rep at the entire company, and this company decided that they were going to lay off the entire top half of all the sales reps. And found out 3 months later they laid off the bottom half. So it was one of those things, they were just gutting the company to get ready for a sale. At that point I had already done, real estate investment, loved real estate, knew I wanted to get into it. So like, all right, I guess this is my opportunity to get full time into real estate. So got licensed in August of 2023. Never been shy about coaching or anything like that. So having a sales background, decided I was going to start picking up the phones and making calls. And I was like, well, how do I do this? Where do I get my data from? What dialer do I use? All the usual, what do I call, do not call numbers, right? All the usual questions you have. And so I was like, I should just hire someone. I should just hire a coach to do this rather than, me just stumble and figure it out on my own. I can make this a lot quicker if I do that. So found this guy, Brandon Mulrennan. People that follow this channel may know him. A lot of people that are successful PowerISA have gone through his program first.
If not, you should, right? Like 100%.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, so I found him and I was like, all right, let me get on this program. Jumped in there and then just started making cold calls, calling expireds and withdrawals, and that was it. And then my first complete year in real estate, from August of 23 to August of 24, I made about $185,000 in GCI, just cold calling, withdrawals, and expireds. And so I did that. And then the market in Austin really started drying up, where it's time investment.
I think let's call that out for a second, Tucker, because, one thing's real estate. Your first year in real estate is hard in any market. Austin, at the point you started, was probably the worst market in America. And maybe it is, I don't know if it still is or not, but in 23 and 24, it was ground zero for this kind of post-COVID bust, right? I mean, I don't know if I'm exaggerating or not, but it went from the hottest market in America to probably the coldest market in America in like less than a year. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what you jumped into, basically.
Yeah. And so the market was declining. And so people were kind of like, it's kind of like you could still get close to where your COVID prices were, but not quite there. Now, as this recording, October of 2025, it's basically like if you bought your house 2021 or later, you're underwater. You're not going to get out of it what you paid for. And so I think now there's a lot of people who they're wanting to sell, they're going on the market, but no one wants to buy them because they're too expensive and they can't go lower because of the equity.
Sure.
I had one seller recently who their best case scenario was they were going to have to show up to close with $60,000 in order to close. So obviously we decided to rent it instead. But anyway, the point I was getting at is starting in about late 2024 and going into 2025. the expireds that are coming off the market, it really isn't because that they have a bad realtor or something. It really is because, sometimes people would say, oh, I'm coming off the market because, it's the market is bad, right? And that's a smoke screen, and you can find your ways to rebuttal that. And it really is genuinely at the point now where people coming off the market as expired or withdrawn or canceled, they really just can't sell. And so I was just finding that time that I was putting into this was not getting me the results that I wanted, as it did in the first year. And so I was like, I need to get more of a pipeline business. I need to do more circle prospecting. And so, I'm doing circle prospecting and go for hours and hours just to get one lead. And I'm
Yeah.
like, right, I got to scale. I got to figure out how to way to scale. And then that's what led me to using some of that money I'd made in the first year to reinvest back in the business and getting some ISAs.
I gotcha. I gotcha. That's wild, right? Because you're coming from another industry, right? You're in this ground zero of kind of the post-COVID market, right? It's starting also. I think a lot of the country's feeling it now, but early on it was just you guys, right? So you kind of you're ahead of the market that we're in right now, I think, right? So you jump into this market, you're having a lot of success that first year, but then you found that what got you that first year was not going to get you to scale the second year. Like, hey, this market's changing. The ground is shifting beneath our feet, right? You got to adapt. You got to try something different. And you said, okay, circle prospect, right? Let's try that out because that's a big change, Tucker, right? From I don't know, for the people that don't know, calling expireds and calling circle is like, I don't know, man, Formula One and like the county derby. You know what makes sense?
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
skill level you need and the intensity of the conversation, I don't think could be more different.
Let me just speak to that for a second because
Yeah.
anybody who has done expireds withdrawals and that is like your bread and butter of your business, you're going to know what I'm talking about. When you do expireds withdrawals, most of the time, not gonna say every time, but most of the time, 99 times out of 100, you're gonna have to go above and beyond. You're gonna be going against multiple agents, and when you show up, you're gonna have to. I'm gonna drop off my resume the day before. I'm gonna send them some crumble cookie afterwards. I'm gonna send them a handwritten note afterwards if they didn't get signed. I'm gonna um, when I do my listing presentation, I'm going into deep, deep detail about everything, and I've got my packet, and like it's a show, right? I'm going to
Brutal.
send them a video of myself beforehand to really introduce myself beforehand, all that kind of stuff. That's a typical expired withdrawn appointment because you really have to outshine. Not they're mad at their previous agent already, and now they're interviewing multiple agents, and you have to really shine above everyone else. You got to do all that because I showed up to a circle prospecting appointment with nothing but a business card. And uh and like we talked through everything because I honestly wasn't expecting to sign them, which is probably bad on me for not having that expectation. I just thought it was a preview appointment. I showed up with a business card and I was like, do you have a pen and paper? And I just drew out like the marketing plan. Like I just wrote it and drew out pictures and everything on a sheet of paper.
Hilarious.
And they were like, "Wow, you're really thorough." And then I signed them and sold the house in 3 days. Like it,
Wow.
and so I say that just because I'm like at this point I'm like I pretty much just want to leave expireds and withdrawals completely behind me because even when you start working with them, they can still be really difficult to work with
For
because
sure.
they're just very pointed on everything and they're going to make sure you do everything right because they already had a bad experience. Circle prospects, it's like they just see you with like angel eyes. They just think you're the
The
greatest thing
best
in the
light.
world. And I'm like,
The best possible light.
it's a great experience for me. It's a great experience for them. And so now I've transitioned from this business that was a very like tough grind from beginning to end. And then even afterwards, you're trying to get reviews and referrals, and they still just have a little bit of a bitter mouth on realtors.
Yeah.
Um, some of them on expires and withdrawals are like had a bad experience, and now they're like, "Oh my gosh, this guy saved me from my bad experience." Circle prospects, though, they're just like beginning to end are in love with you. Like it's phenomenal. So now it's like I just have this awesome business pipeline. It's more predictable now. It's everything about it. I would say the sooner you can transition from expireds and withdrawals, if you're doing that to more circle prospecting and pipeline business, and you're gonna love it.
Yeah, 100%. And 100% true. I don't think I've ever shared this, on the show before, but I started calling expireds back in 2013. So the other bad market, right? Not this one, the other one. And it was, like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, there was just so many of them, right? And back then, even though the market was a little bit better than '08 and '09, it wasn't that much better. And there was a lot of people have just had a really bad experience during the crash, right? So even though you could get them easily on the phone, you can get in front of them pretty easily. Getting them to sign and to sell at that price was not always easy. They really got above water a few years after that, not in 2013, right? So I get, and then someone, I guess it must have been a training or a coaching session I had, said, "Hey, you should try Circle Prospect," and I was just blown away by like what you're describing, like just the difference in conversation. Yeah, you can get someone that's mad for that you call them, and any job you can get that, right? Someone can just you get them at the wrong time, and that's normal. But expireds is something else. I mean, like I said, you're starting the relationship. It's like you're the rebound. They just broke up with someone, and you're there to kind of hold their hand and just deal with the aftermath. That's the beginning of the relationship, right? And it can go up or down from there. It can be really unpredictable, but you're getting someone in a tough spot. That's where you're starting with an expired. And with Circle, I was always pretty good at chatting people up. I mean, it's just I kind of have the gift of gab. I can just talk to people about stuff. That's like a superpower for a Circle prospect because that's kind of what you have to do. You just have to be able to hold a conversation with people and just connect with them, right? Can you connect about something? And real estate is one of those things, man, that we can all connect with, right? Because you're calling a homeowner. The only reason you're calling them is usually because they own a home, right? So you can connect about the community, about that home you just sold, a few blocks down, or the neighborhood you have a bunch of buyers that want to move into. Like you can always connect about something around real estate and just your ability to hold the conversation. So coming from expires to Circle is, that's like the best thing ever, right? I think if you just start with Circle, it's going to be challenging. You're going to go, yeah, for sure. But if you're coming from expire, that's an unbelievable feeling. Like, oh wow, like you're sliding into like you're sliding those DMs, like ooh, really, really nice. So big difference. And the competition, Tucker, like you named it. Back in 2013, it was at least 3 or 4 other agents they were interviewing, sometimes more than 3 or 4. Sometimes they had 2 days of marathon meetings. Like I remember one time I think it was like a dozen agents. They didn't tell me the final number, just the cards that I saw, and like they were just stacking up these decks. Like it's got to be like 10 people in there. I came in second place. And I'm like, this sucks, bro. Like, this is just not a great use
Right.
of my time, right? This is
It's like
crazy.
they're just parading you through like a beauty pageant, and they're just they
It's
and at that point, like you're interviewing that many people, the only thing you're looking for is who's going to do it the cheapest. That
yeah,
at
yeah.
the
At
end of the
that
day, that
point,
who's going to do the
like
most stuff and do it for the cheapest. That's what they're looking for at that point. I,
it's
I don't want to play
hardcore.
that game. Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And if you're trying to play a game, it's a race to the bottom, or maybe they're just going on. Who knows at that point? Can you even remember if you talk to 10 people, like what the seventh person even said to you? It doesn't even matter at that point, right? So that was the world I was coming from to Circle Prospect, that they were like happy to see me almost, right? Like, holy cow, like just having a conversation with them. So big difference. So I love that you made that transition and that you wanted to kind of base your business off that. I love it. So you decide. So, but you wanted to Circle. Why did you connect Circle with an ISA? Versus before. Did Circle Prospect made you feel like a bigger need for an ISA?
yeah, 100%. Because with circle prospecting, it really it's a numbers game. It's how many people. And I get like there's all kinds of different questioning methods, and you know, you are not going to ask a cold circle prospect the right question that's going to make them want to sell their house. It literally is just my guys are calling, and it's if you knew you could get a strong offer in the next 1 or 2 years, would you be totally opposed to the idea of selling? That's it. And then we have more scripting after that. Maybe we'll get into that later. But you just need people to ask that question to as many people as possible per day, and then you will find opportunities in pipeline and business for it. And so when I'm thinking about okay, what can I do with my time? I can only talk to so many people per day, and this is 100% a task that I can just hand off to someone else so that I can scale and do more things. And so if I just want to if I want to get to where I want to go faster, I need to do it. And there's another guy who, um, one of the things that he said to me that he, helped me out with some ISAs and some tactics and things getting started. Basically, what he told me was the faster you can spend money, the faster you're going to make money. And so I was like, okay, let's just start off with two guys full time right away. Let's go right out of the gate. And then I think before I even had closed my first deal, I think I'd got a signed contract, and I was like, wow, like this is for real. And that one contract was going to pay for that ISA for the entire year from the commission that came off of it. So I was like, okay, let's just go on and hire two more guys right away. So I got four guys, calling for me
Wow.
full time. Um,
Okay, yeah.
and and we're hitting anywhere from, between 350 to 400 contacts per day. Like that many contacts,
Wow.
you're gonna trip over business. It's gonna be hard to not do business getting that many contacts per day.
Yeah, I love that. So, I mean, I love let me break that down a little bit because, I think you realize what a lot of agents realize you were just a lot faster to act on it, right? I think a lot of agents are going to dip their toe in a little bit, maybe hire one person, kind of see how it goes. If they're able to get a lot of contacts from them, a lot of conversations, they might, try for a few more months. And you're like, you got the signal really quickly. You're like, hey, this is working for me. The math checks out in the future, not at that moment. Let's be real clear. Like not immediately, right? They're not going to get like 10x ROI right off the bat, right? You're like, hey, this is working. Let me scale this up, very, very quickly, and let's go. Like let's go 100% and let's accelerate, this process. So let's break that down for folks, right, Tucker? Because I don't want to give the impression that, oh man, boom, we're there and it's easy and no issue, right? So what does it take to get someone on your team, get them productive? What does that mean for you now? Like getting an ISA on your team, what do they have to do the first week and the first month? How do you know they're going to be that person that's going to stay on the team and help you accelerate? Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, for sure. And then just I'll circle back to that. But one of the other things too, I think we've mentioned a couple times in the podcast, what made me really want to get ISAs and then scale with it more was, we've talked about before, it's something like 70% of home buyers only interview one agent before deciding to move forward with an agent. So 70% are only going to talk with one person. Home sellers, it's like 80% of home sellers only talk with one realtor before deciding to sell. And so
Wow.
let's put it down the middle. 75%, three out of four people are only going to talk with one realtor before deciding who they're going to sell with. Coming off of where all you do is, expireds and withdrawals, your sales skills have to be sharp. Like you've got to be on it.
Good point.
And luckily, I did have that skill, but taking that into circle prospecting, now it's like, okay, well, now the name of the game is just marketing. It's volume. It's how many people can you get in front of before anyone else. And that's all you have to do is you just have to you have to get in front of more people than anyone else. And then three out of four of those people that you meet with are going to sign with you, regardless of how bad your sales skills are. It's just the fact that you're face to face with them. So to
100%.
me, I was like, all right, well, that's a no brainer to take this and scale it up to as far as I
I
can
love it.
scale it.
I love it.
Now,
I love it.
I guess to your other question there. Sorry, remind me again what the question was.
No, well, yeah. So so we established that the ISA can help you grow. It's the engine of your business. Okay,
Getting
and
them
I
up
don't
and
want to make
running.
it sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, getting up and running. I don't want to make it sound like, oh man, this is super easy. Actually, this takes some work, right? So what is that process of getting someone on, or the first couple people on there, and getting them productive, right? Because you might have to, maybe you don't hit a home run on your first hire, right?
And I'm sure there'll be more time to talk about this too. But one of the big things is you have to treat these people like they're employees of your business. Like they need to see the vision and they need to see the outlook and they need to see how they fit into the big picture. And so when I was in the interview process, I didn't care if people had a background in sales. I don't want to be afraid of the phones. I care about that. Like I don't want someone who's stuttering on the phone because they're shy and scared. I don't need to overcome that. I need some background in cold calling or at least customer service. Um, but I don't care if you've sold in real estate before. I just need you to be not afraid of the phone. And when I was in the hiring process, I told them up front, I said, hey, look, like this job is a grind. You're going to be talking to you're going to be talking to hundreds of people every week, and very, very few of them are actually going to want to do something. And then even the ones outside of that, there's going to be fewer that are going to want to then have us follow up with them. And there's going to be even fewer that end up contracting. And if they do contract, it's going to be a minimum 6 months, probably closer to 12 months before you do anything. And so I'm telling you, Noel, Joe, Valentine, George. Those are my guys. If they ever see this, I'm telling you guys, if you just stick with me for 12 months, I promise you, you're going to make more money than what you could have realized had you been doing something else. But you're going to have to grind through it for 12 months. And if you can't do that, it's totally fine. Most people can't. But if you're willing to bear through that for 12 months, I promise you, you're going to make the bulk of your money through commissions, and you're going to make more money than what you realized. So Noel last month, Noel made more money from his commissions and his bonuses than he actually did off of his salary. And so that was like the first time that happened. He's got, I mean,
Good month.
he he's getting a lot of listings for me. He's an animal. So, but yeah, like that right there is like telling them upfront, hey, the expectation is like this is gonna be a grind. Like it's not gonna be easy. But if you stick with me, there will be more opportunity than what you realized, and you just have to be willing to get through that. And so I think I've had really, really low turnover because of that, because they
Gotcha.
see the
You see the
vision, they see
vision.
the outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And the other thing
clear.
too is,
Clarity. There's a lot of clarity
yeah.
there.
And so when I bring them on, when I first brought them on, it was the first half, if it's an 8 hour day, when I first brought them on, the first half of the first day was just onboarding systems, stuff like that. Here's this, here's that, this is what you do. The second half of the day was scripting and role play. First half of the second day was scripting and role play again. Then it was on the phones for the second half of the day. And then after that, every day for 2 weeks, it was we would meet, review calls, role play, get back on the phones. That was for the first 2 weeks. Then the second 2 weeks, it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 weeks. Then for another 2 weeks after that, it was Tuesday, Thursday, and then ongoing now, it's at least once a week I'm jumping in with them. And I've promoted Joe, or Joe's his stage name, Valentine. I promoted Valentine up to our manager, so he runs those calls for me
Lead ISA.
every day they do role play.
Yeah,
But
that's a
then
big thing. I want
yeah,
to tell folks that's a daily activity. It's just you
yeah,
don't have to do it anymore, right? But that daily accountability is so key to keeping the
mhm,
team running smoothly, like high performance. You don't run them every day now. You run them once a week, but you've got someone within the team. It's now like a leadership role, but
exactly.
they also call, right? Or are they like a full time managing? They call and they manage.
Yeah. And the other thing too is one of the problems I think a lot of people do is they'll hire VAs or ISAs, and then they just kind of like stick them in a closet and then never talk to them again.
Yeah,
My guys, they get on. So like I have a group of guys that I meet with that I've met through Brandon Mulrenan's program. We get on Discord every day. We make our calls together and we hang out together.
cool.
And just the other day, like one of them was talking all about going on vacation together and stuff like that. So these are good friends, and we built the same thing for them too. So they have their own room inside of Discord. They all log in, they all talk
That's
with each
awesome.
other and hang out. So it's like it helps keep morale high. Because if I had to sit here, I just imagine if it was myself and I had to sit here for 8 hours a day, just making cold calls by myself, no one to talk to, and just getting people hang up on me over and over, I'd last 2 days. And I imagine it's probably the same for most other people. But
Awesome.
whereas if you can log in, you can like have some friends and meet people and talk with people and just like joke around and things like that, it helps keep morale a lot higher. And so they have their own room inside of our Discord channel where they can all hang out and make calls together. It's where they log in to do their role play, and they stay on all day, and I can see them in there. They stay on all day, make calls together. Helps keep morale high, helps keep the training high. And then too, we keep all the numbers transparent. They know exactly how much they're making. They know exactly how they're stacking up to the rest of their team in terms of their conversion rates and everything. So they know how well they're performing against everyone. They know if they're falling behind or if they need to, or if they're, really blowing it out of the water. So everything is completely transparent.
I love that. I love that. That's great. And let's talk about the process, right? So let's walk people through kind of how the system works. So you got ISAs, a group of ISAs. They're calling neighborhoods. How do you pick them? Because I get that question a lot. Hey, I want to do a single prospect, but I don't know where to call. How do you select your areas, Tucker?
So, so I'm in the Austin, Texas market. If you look at Austin, Texas, you're going to see different cities around it: Round Rock, Leander, Georgetown, Hutto. That's where I am, is Hutto, Pflugerville. So I just go and I say, City of Hutto, let's rip it. And that's pretty much it. I'm looking for I'm looking for owner occupied homes in the city of Hutto,
That's
and
awesome.
that's it. Because here's the thing: is these guys they rip through so much data that I don't need to parse it down. I don't need to
Love it.
like they're going to make. I mean, these guys like if I pulled up their numbers right now, they've probably it's about 1:30 right now our time. They've probably made about 6,000 dials today. Um,
Wow.
they're calling on something called Call Tools, which is a 10-line dialer, and they're just ripping through the data. And so they probably at this point on any given day they're going to make somewhere between 10,000 to 12,000 dials. And
Oh,
so
wow.
that right there, like you need to have a lot of data. And so if I
Yeah.
try to filter by downsizers or specific neighborhoods or anything like that, it's just not going to be enough data. Now we
The
do
machine.
have some things where we'll say, okay, like we just got this listing. I'm going to pull 1,000 homes or just all the homes that are in that neighborhood, which might come up to somewhere between 500 to 1,000 homes. And we might bullseye prospect that one neighborhood. But even that is only going to last a couple hours,
Yeah.
basically, until it gets, our system will automatically refresh it. They'll call it again and they'll call someone 10 times over the course of about a week or two before it gives that specific contact a rest, in which case it'll rest for 30 days and then it'll pop back up and it'll repopulate. So each month we basically just pick out another city. So we did Hutto, then we did Pflugerville, we did zip codes in North Austin, we did Leander. Um, Round Rock was really good to us. Um, right now they're calling through Georgetown, and I'm telling you, they're just calling the entire city. So each month I'm pulling about 30,000 records. It'll last them about 4 to 6 weeks, and then I'll get another 30,000 records after that.
Yeah, that's a steamroller of a machine that that's a massive amount of calls. What do you source your data? Like what's something you like for that amount of data? You can't like, oh, I'll do Red X or Vulcan. You need like 10 times what they usually provide. So what's a good source for data if you want to build something that large?
Yeah, if I want to parse it down to something, I'll use batch leads. So I through there I can get 10,000 records a month. So that's if I'm doing bullseye campaigns or maybe there's something specific I'm looking for. So like last month we were able to pull about 10,000 records of debt and lien property, meaning they had maybe a tax lien or some kind of other involuntary lien. And we just pulled them for all those cities I named a second ago. We pulled it for all that. So I'll use batch leads if I really want to cut it down. If I'm just looking for, here's a city, I want all the absentee owners here. Here's a city, I want all the owner occupied homes here. I'll use something called kind skip tracing. Now that it's 3 cents per record, and so I can pull all the data for that. So right now, it's like I might be spending about 750 to $1,000 a month on data. Um, but I anticipate like next year that's going to go down because next year we might call through the city of Hutto again. I already have the city of Hutto. I just need to dial it again or maybe update it, and there's not going to be nearly as many records. So the only
Like a
filters I'm really
refresh.
putting
You
on
do like
it,
a refresh.
yeah, the only filters I'm really putting on it is I'm looking for homes that are between $250,000 to $2 million in value. And the homeowner has to have lived there or have owned the property for at least 2 years. Outside of that, I'm not doing anything.
Love it. I love it. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, and you're right. Kind of once you got the properties down like for a specific area, right? You can just do like a data refresh usually. Say, hey, which ones of these have changed? And you update the ones that have changed, right? That's really what you're looking for. Because with my team, when we first started circle prospecting, I had a team of 50 people, and they were working for me, they were working for other agents, but we trained them on my data, right? We would train like dozens and dozens of people. So I would have them call in my home state of, well, not home, my home market of Washington State. About 3 million, about a couple million numbers that we were able to get, right? We would call through that. It probably took us a while. So probably maybe 2 to 3 years to call through the whole, like every single owner occupied property could find in Washington State. What did we do at the end? We went back to the beginning and started over. You know what I mean? Because it had been 2 years, it had been 3 years. You think that data changed? Yes, it had a lot, actually, right? People move, people are born, people die, people get divorced. Everything you can imagine happens, or you just didn't get them that year. Get them the next year. They'll pick up on a different number, right? So that people kind of feel like, oh my goodness, I'm going to run out of data. Like I don't. That's not a real issue that usually happens, right? Even you, Tucker, you're not going to run out of data in Central Texas. You're just not going to, right?
No
Like
way.
it's a large area, big metro, area, and people come and go there every single year. it's just not a real concern you should have, right? It's just not a real thing. I'm not going to say it's like an infinite source of numbers, but it is pretty close to being an infinite. Unless you're like in a 10,000 person town, okay, then you probably got to try something else. You can probably meet everybody in town in a couple of years, right? So that's a different strategy. But for everywhere else, this is going to be a really, really viable strategy. I love that. So you get the data, you got and by the way, call tools is what I call, a little bit more of an advanced dialer. So, you
Oh yeah,
set that up yourself
it's
and you hire a
it's a
consultant.
lot.
It's a little bit of, because, Mojo, you can get up and running in like an hour. Like you're up and you're dialing and you're calling. Call tools, you got to attend their like setup session to even dial. You got to attend like a 1 hour class to like, get in there, like load up your list and kind of get it going. And then if you want to like tweak it and optimize it, in my experience, it takes like a week or two to like dial it in and get it to do what you want it to do, and having them hold your hand the whole time, right? So, did you do it yourself? You get someone else, you hire someone to do it for you? Was it like a trial and error thing? How did you get call tool? How did you tame call tools?
Well, so we were using Mojo at first, and then
Ah, gotcha.
it's like we broke it. Like I feel like Mojo is mostly built for people that it's mostly built for people that are like an agent. Like I'm going to call for the first 2 to 4 hours of the day, and then after that, I'm doing listing appointments, admin work,
That's
that
it.
kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
Whereas Call Tools or Enzo Dialer or some of these other ones, they're specifically built for call centers. They are built for this, and so Call Tools, yeah, I got on with them. It came as like a referral from someone else. I've been using it for months. I'm still learning things. I just learned some new things about it this past week. And so
It's a beast.
there's yeah, it's incredible. I can't say enough like praises about their support team. You want to get something integrated into your follow boss, they will do it and they'll have it done quickly and they'll do it correctly. Like I mean, it is just like it is so good. But yes, it is complicated. It's definitely worth it though, because you get these guys onto. We had one of my guys made 200 contacts in a single day one time off of them. On a
Wow.
normal day, they're going to make somewhere around 100 contacts per day. There are other days though where I don't know what's going on, but they're getting like there was one day where between it just so happened that like one of my guys was off that day and another guy was I think he was sick or like power went out or something like that. So I had two guys in between the two guys on a single day, they had like 390 contacts or something like that using call tools. So they can call on a 10 line dialer and it's basically like you can see what their wait time is between calls. And their wait time between calls was an average of like 15 seconds per day. Could you imagine for somewhere between 6 and 8 hours for a whole day? There's 15 seconds between when you put the phone down and the next person picks up. I mean, you're just firing off over and over and over and over. So yes, it's a pain to get set up. I mean, it's not really that much of a pain because they do have a great consultant team and they will help you get it set up. It's just a big learning curve off of something like
Learning
Mojo.
curve. I'd say
But
that.
doing
Yeah.
something like that, because again, going back to what I said in the beginning, circle prospecting is a contact sport. It's just about the contacts. How many people can you ask the question of, would you be opposed to selling in the next 1 or 2 years if you knew you could get a strong offer? That's it. Like you just need to ask that
Love it.
question to as many people as possible. And so whatever you can do to get that number up, you take advantage of it.
I love it. I love it. Great. So you got that data, you got the dialogue and everything. So tell us, walk us through that process. They're calling these lists, someone picks up, and they're just asking that question. Hey, would you be totally against, selling the home in the next year or two? You're just looking for people that will consider selling. This is not their forever home, right? Like this is or is this your forever home? Tell me like off the bat, right? So you're just going straight for them. You're going right after them and saying, "Hey, would you consider selling if you got a strong offer? Would you be opposed to it?" Right? A very Brandon Morenin, kind of script. Like, hey, would you be totally against getting a super strong offer and selling your property within the next year or two? And if they say yes to that question, or they're like, "Oh, maybe," so they go through a couple more qualifiers after that, and then they hand them off to you. What's the
Really?
process?
Yeah. Yeah, not really. I tried having them
Okay.
put more qualifiers into it, and I realized it was like getting them too far in the weeds of the question. I'm like, I just want you to find someone who's going to raise their hand. So I'll talk through a couple things here because we tried a bunch of different stuff and we just found that just find the hand raisers and that's it. So I'll go through the whole script because I know there's probably a lot of people out there that would really want to know who are thinking about this kind of thing, and it's kind of the scripting is like, what do they say? I'll tell you what to say. Um, they would start off and they say, "Hey Gus, my name's Noel. I work with a local realtor. But before you hang up, just hoping to ask you a quick question. Would that be okay?" Cool. The home on 123 Main Street, you don't still own that, do you? Okay, great. Well, look, I know it's going to be a long shot, but we were just wondering, there's buyers moving into the area, and we were just wondering if you knew you could get a strong offer, would you be totally against the idea of selling in the next 1 or 2 years? They say yes, or they say, they'd be open to that. Then they say, okay, great. And if you did make a move, would it be in the next 1 to 2 years, 2 to 5 years, or are you further out than that? Okay, great. And so the reason why they ask that question, it's the only qualifier they ask, is because if they say something like, well, whenever there's an offer or something like that, the person's not serious, in which case we have a way of disqualifying that person. But if they actually nail something in, then it's like, okay, there's something there. That's the only qualifier they ask them. So, um, would you make a move the next 1 to 2 years, 2 to 5 years, or you're further out than that? Okay, 1 to 2 years. Well, look, it's totally up to you, but if you'd like, I can have Tucker, he's my realtor, reach out to you and just kind of share what's going on in the market and be a resource for you if and when you ever make a move. Would that be okay? They say yes. Okay, great. And he'll give you a call either later today or tomorrow. Would that be okay? And then they say yes. And then they'll say, okay, great. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and send you a copy of his resume. That way you kind of know who he is prior to the call. What's a good email for you? So we capture the email. So whether or not I actually talk with them, they're going to get on my email list. So they capture the email and say, great, I'll go ahead and send that off to you. And one last thing before we go, Gus, just so I can give Tucker a little bit more context. Most of the people we talk to, they're looking at making a move because maybe they want to get closer to family somewhere. Maybe it's that they're just kind of sick of the area, or they're looking for something a little bit bigger or smaller. Is that the same for you, or is it something else? And then so they'll get a little bit of motivation there at the end, and then they'll say, "Great, I'll have Tucker reach out." So with that motivation piece there at the end, we used to have that at the beginning of the script after that desire question of would you be opposed to an offer in the next 1 or 2 years? We used to have it right after that. If you wanted to move, would it be for reasons A, B, or C? We found that at that point, either A, they were getting too into the weeds and we were disqualifying too many people. Because I was like, I want you guys to only send me the best leads. And what happened was they were getting rid of a lot of people. A lot of people just in that initial call, they have their guard up a little bit.
Yeah, they do.
And so they just end up be like, it's none of your business why I'm moving. So hands off. But when we put it at the end, by the time we get to the end, this person's told you they want to move. They told you a timeline. They said they want to talk to a realtor. They said it was okay to reject. So it's like I think they've built up like a little bit more trust. So they'll say, oh, I want to, get closer to family somewhere. Now at that point, if they and so it's like a little bit more trust there, and so people aren't getting disqualified as much. Or they might say something like, well, as long as the offer's right, then in which case they may or may not send them to me. That's the other biggest issue is when like you get a lot of people who are going to say, well, like money talks, or well, yeah, if the offer's right, yeah, I'll sell, or like, yeah, if you give me $1 million for my $300,000 house, I'll sell. Like I'm like, I don't want to talk to these people, right? Like these are not real leads. And so we have a way of disqualifying those people out of it. And it's just the tiniest little bit of pushback at the end. So if they were to say something like, as long as the offer's right, or
Depends
how
on the offer.
much, or what's the offer? They'll say their response to that, if it's earlier in the script, would you be opposed to an offer the next 1 or 2 years? If they say it at that point, their response is, well, hey, look, I'm sorry, I don't want to mislead you. We don't have an offer or a buyer in hand right now. It's just that we're talking to a lot of people and they're looking to move for reasons A, B, or C. But it sounds like that doesn't describe you, does it, Gus? And then at that point, they're gonna go, no, it's just if it's the right money. And they'll say, okay, makes sense. Knowing that we don't have an offer in hand or a buyer right now, would it even make sense to talk to a realtor? And they'll go, well, no, it wouldn't. And so great, we've disqualified that person with like we've got that person out if that's all it is. If that's all it is. Now, if it's the offers right, and then we give them reasons A, B, or C, that person's then going to qualify themselves back in. And then they get a timing question, pass it on to me, and I give them a call. Um, and so what they'll do, even if that person fully disqualifies themselves, because every time they pick up the phone, it's an opportunity to get someone on our email list because you never know when life changes. And so if they were to ask that person, does it make sense to talk with a realtor? knowing we don't have an offer, does it make sense to talk to the realtor? No, it doesn't. Okay, yeah, makes total sense. Well, look, Gus, I know you're not doing anything right now, but if and when the time ever does come to make a move, I mean, do you already have a realtor that you work with, or would you be open to options? No, I'd be open to options. Okay, great. Well, it's totally up to you, but if you'd like, I can have my realtor. I can send you over a copy of his resume just for you to have on file for if and when you ever make a move. Would that be okay? At that point, I'm not training them on like specific sales tactics of like go for no or Socratic question or anything like that. It's just basically, do you want his resume or not? Do you want his email or not? And it's just a way to maybe try and get them last ditch of on our email list so that we can call them. And so even with that, this is something people don't really talk a lot about. My email list when I started this year had about 250 people on it. Now my email list has over 1,100 people on it. So it's about 10 months later. My email list has about 1,100 people on it. And at least once a month, I have someone on my email list who I've never talked to reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I'd like you to come over and talk about selling my house." One of those people actually just signed. So people don't know this. Gus and I were supposed to have this conversation a week ago. And I had to reschedule this meeting because the person who wanted to meet with me was someone who I'd never talked to. My ISA just got the email and she emailed me and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come over and list my house." And we just went live with her yesterday, met with her that
Love
day,
that.
signed her, and we just went live yesterday. And so that, there you go. You got to get the emails,
Best
grow the
email
email
ever.
list. Yeah.
Best email ever, 100%. So that's almost 1,000 new emails
Yeah.
within 10 months. So you guys are cranking through these conversations and some of the, I would call them like nurtures, right? Like seller nurtures, qualified leads or qualified seller leads, right? So what's how many of these do you get a day? So by the way, Tucker, thanks for walking through that script. I think a lot of people, I think we sometimes miss that nuance. Like, hey, this is like exactly how it goes beginning to end and the objectives. That was amazing. So thanks for sharing that with folks. What comes out of this, right? They hand those off people off to you. You're gonna reach out to them. Is it like each one of your ISAs, do you have a goal of like a daily goal, a weekly goal? How many of these nurtures are they generating for you?
Yeah. So each person is generating for me. So the different metrics that we have that I'm tracking, I have working time, I have call time, I have contacts, I have ISA leads. So that's like basically their hand raisers. How many people do they pass off to me? So those are the metrics they're kind of responsible for. And then after that, I have conversations met, which is they send a guy to me or they send someone to me, and what percentage of those people am I actually talking with? And then I have qualified lead after that. And then, things like appointments set, met, listing taken, so on. Um, so each guy is probably producing for me somewhere about 2 or 3 ISA leads per day. Um, sometimes it's zero, and then other days we're going to have 4. But on
Yeah,
average,
that's how it
it, it
works.
it might actually be closer to like 1 or 2, and then we got a lot of emails as well through that.
Gotcha.
So they send it off to me. Now what happens is it goes to my follow-up boss, and when it hits my follow-up boss, by the way, I've built like kind of a reputation in my group of friends as like the systems guy and the automations guy. Happy to disclose
Cool.
whatever. But so someone hits my follow-up boss, and when they have a follow-up, it automatically sends them an email, automatically sends them a text message, and that says, "Hey Gus, this is Tucker." Text message will within 60 seconds say, "Hey Gus, this is Tucker. I think you just spoke with a member of my team about making a move in the next few years. I'll plan on giving you a call from this number unless you recommend otherwise. Looking forward to speaking with you soon." And so that way, when I call, you see on like how on iPhones it'll pop up, it'll say like maybe Tucker
Yes.
Cummings. So when I call, it's
Yes.
going to say maybe Tucker Cummings on it instead of just having my number there.
Love
So
it.
I pick up and then I roll through my script from there. And after that, I'll determine if it's a qualified lead or not. Um, and so the other thing they do, if all they do is capture the email, I have a different version of that, which comes out, which says, "Hey, Gus, this is Tucker. I think you just spoke with a member of my team about maybe making a move in the next few years, but that you weren't quite ready for a conversation with a realtor yet. I've linked my resume below for you to have on file. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions." And then it has a link to, my website or my resume there. And so then that way these people are still like I get like people text back thumbs up or thanks or stuff like that. And that way you get some kind of acknowledgement from them. And I found that has really taken taking it higher. So my cadence
Love
for
it.
when I follow up with people, they send people to me at 3 o'clock on the day. Like, so every day at 3 o'clock, I call through all the people that have been generated that day, or maybe any follow up people that I haven't been able to contact with. And then the second day, um, at 9 a.m., I call through all the leads that have been generated that I haven't been able to contact so far. At 3 p.m., I will give them another phone call. All these are follow up. All these, I leave a voicemail. I have my voicemails scripted so that I say the same thing every time and can track the data. Then the same text message every time. It's all templated in Follow Boss. So it's just boom, click, boom, click, boom, click. Really quick and easy. Um,
Because this is at
and then
scale.
for the,
This is like 5 to 10 a
this is how
day.
you
Like
scale.
this is
Yeah.
new ones. Yeah, because 5 to 10 new ones per day, that snowballs pretty quickly. If you don't have a system in place, you don't have a way to kind of like do this in bulk. That can overwhelm
Yeah.
someone in a couple months already, right?
Yeah, I mean, even while we're on the phone here, like I've generated this is three, in the time of this conversation, we've generated three leads. So
Wow.
um so the yeah, so that's what is, for in the next 2 days after that. So first day is immediate text message, immediate email, phone call at 3 o'clock. Following day is a phone call, voicemail, followed by a text message at 9 a.m. that day, and then another phone call with no voicemail at 3 p.m. that day. The next 2 days in the morning is phone call, voicemail, text message for 2 days. Then the day after that is phone call, no voicemail, text message. And then the day after that is like a Dear John text of like, hey, Gus, reached out for about 5 or 6 days now. Haven't been able to get in touch with you. Get the feeling I got sent my way by mistake. Um, if anything changes, feel free to reach out. That rests. And then recently, what I've implemented is 30 days after that, it goes to one of my ISAs who now has a seat inside of Follow Boss, and then he calls those again after it's rested for 30 days. And
Oh, to
actually,
re-nurture them.
by doing that, we actually found someone in there who we got them sent back to me. I called her, set an appointment, signed her. And so
Wow.
even through doing that, like we've been able to just get people who we otherwise, would have slipped through the cracks.
I love that. I love that. That's super deal. And that's for people that are trying to reach the first time. Once you've had a conversation, you've made contact with folks. Does the follow-up process then just depend on the conversation? If they're like an A person, you're talking to them every week. If they're further out, it's like every quarter. With the people that are contacted, how do you follow up with those folks?
So they're I mean, yeah, it mostly just depends on their timing, how far out they are. So probably don't have enough time to go through like my full like database plan on this
That's fine.
call. But basically, I have a field inside of Follow Boss, a custom field. It says timing year. And so in that
Ooh.
timing year, I'm going to put in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. And then depending on what year they land in, they're all going to get postcards. They're all going to get emails. They're all going to get, um, basically those things on the same cadence. But when I make the phone call to them is going to be different. So if they are this year, it's going to be either a phone call every quarter or half the time that they recommend I give them a call back, just depending on how far out they are. I don't ever want someone to go more than a quarter without me reaching out to them. If their timing is the following year, then I'll give them a call once a quarter, and those are all their value add calls. They are not calling because I'm asking for business. They are value add calls. Hey, it's tax protest season. Do you want a CMA so you can protest your taxes with? Hey, I'm training a new assistant in my office on how to do home value reports. Do you want us to go ahead and run one for you and share the results when we're done? Stuff like that where you're adding value to them. And if they're 2 years out and beyond, then it's a call every 6 months where it's just value add phone call. That's it. And all you're doing is you're staying top of mind. Hey, I know you're not doing anything for 2 or 3 years or so. Here's how that conversation may go. Um, hey Gus, this is Tucker. Like we spoke maybe a couple months ago about your property over there on Main Street. I'm the realtor you spoke with. I know you weren't expecting my call right now. I was just hoping you could help me out real quick. Do you have like 30 seconds here? You're going to say yes. And then I'm going to go, I appreciate it. So I actually just made a new hire in my office. I brought on an assistant and she's helped me do home value reports and CMAs. And so we're just looking at different neighborhoods in Round Rock to practice on. We came across your home in our database here. Would you like us to do a home value report for you? And then when we're done, we can share the results with you. Yeah, of course. That'd be awesome. other thing with circle prospects, when you follow up with them, they love you. They're like, yeah, what's going on? What can I do? How can I help you out? Versus
That's
expireds,
awesome.
they do not want you to
No,
follow
no.
up with them. So anyway,
Stop calling me.
so I'll
Stop
say,
calling me.
okay, cool. So I got a 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,500 square foot, single level home built in 2008. Does all that sound about right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. And then last thing, while I got you, I had a little note here that you weren't looking to make a move until the fall of 2026 because you wanted to move closer to your family in West Palm Beach. Is that still the plan, or has anything changed? No, that's still the plan. Okay, cool. Well, I'll get that home value report out to you later today or tomorrow. If anything changes, feel free to give me a call. And that's it.
I love
It's
it.
just value. Just try and add some value to them. That's
Yeah,
it.
100%. Because if you just go in there, asking, are you ready to move? Are you ready to move? You sound like every other agent, quite frankly. They're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
annoying.
it's
You're
easy
just
to
being
ignore,
annoying.
right? 100%. You're not going to get a response to that voicemail, that text, that email. You're just not, because you're like everyone else, kind of asking for something, right? Instead of offering something that's valuable to them. I love that. So, Tucker, you've got the tools, the team, the process, the system, the scripts. What have been your guys' results from building up this ISA machine?
Yeah. So just the bottom line is in 10 months of doing this, we've taken 11 listings in that time.
Love it.
And so I've noticed over the past month, maybe 2 months, that's where it's really started to turn over on the pipeline. So the first little bit, it's like, to be honest, it's like, man, I'm spending a lot of money and I'm
You
not
gotta
getting a
wait.
lot out of this. But you're going after pipeline. And so now it's like the past couple weeks, I took 3 listings in 1 week off of this because pipeline was starting to turn over. And
100%.
so that's not going to happen every week, but maybe instead of it being another 3 months before I have something like that. Maybe it's, next month I might have, take another 3 listings next month. And the next month I'll take 4. And then after that, I'll take 5. And so it's just going to keep compounding. So yeah, 11 listings in 10 months.
I love that 100%. And like you said, most of these folks are in that 6 to 12 month time frame, right? So I expect that number is going to be just phenomenally better from here to January, just in the next 2 to 3 months. I'm sure that number is going to look even more amazing, because, like you said, it's gonna, and Austin is a very seasonal market too, right? So I think in 2026 is going to blow up for you guys. It's going to be, amazing because different market, brand new year, listing season. You're going to have a pipeline, 1,000 people, over 1,000 people, or probably 1,200 people by then, new people in the mailing list. That is just going to blow up for you guys. So absolutely love that. Oh, and last question for your newsletter. Do you send it every month because this goes out to people you haven't even spoken to, people they got their email from? They might not even be thinking it. They didn't disclose they were interested in selling to you guys. What do you email that big group, the big newsletter people? Is that goes out every week, every month? What does that look like? The newsletter?
Yeah. Every week, every Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. Newsletter goes out to people. And so again, it's value add. It's just trying to tell people what's going on in the market, things like that, what we're seeing, and just
Love it.
being on. I think people like the authenticity. I don't sit here and say like, now's a good time for sellers. Now's a good time for buyers. Now's this, now's that. Like people see through that where it's like, when's a
Yeah.
good time to sell? It's always a good time to sell. It's like asking an insurance person when I'll put it this way. It's like you ask an insurance person, do I need insurance? Of course, they're going to say yes. You ask a realtor, should I sell my house? Should I buy a house? They're going to say yes. I am the realtor that will tell them it's not a good time to sell your house unless you feel like you have to make a move, like someone died, you're getting divorced, something like that. And I think because of that, people lean back into me and they're like, oh, okay, like this guy's actually telling the truth about it.
It's legit.
Because one, if I sit there and I'm like, I try to convince someone to sell, they're going to list the home too high. They're going to not be happy with me at the end. It's going to be a pain in the butt to get it sold. And I don't want to deal with that. So, I think when they actually do want to sell, they look at me as like more of a trusted advisor rather than just a salesman.
I love that. I love that. No, and you keep it in touch with that. It's like your audience, right? You're building an audience. It's hundreds of people. It'll soon be thousands of people. So you got to, you're transmitting an authentic person to them, and people love that because usually we don't see that from someone in sales. Not at all, right? 100%. So Tucker, last question, man. If someone is considering, bringing on an ISA, trying out something like Circle or Absentees, and they want some help, but they're on the fence about it. Oh man, I've been burned in the past. I have to hire someone. It's doing a lot of work. What would you say to someone that's considering something like this, but still on the fence?
So actually, this is really, really good transition from what I was just saying a second ago. Like, hey, here's the reason why you should not sell your home. I was like, I'm going to do this by like, here's why you
For
should
real.
not get ISAs. So you should not get ISAs if you do not have the money to fund this for at least 6 months. 6 months, ideally 12. Don't do it because you need us to like build up pipeline. You can call expireds. I've had my guys called expireds, but they burn through that data fast. So you're gonna need something after that, and you're gonna need circle prospect data too. Data gets expensive. These guys' salaries and their bonuses get expensive. Do not do this unless you have the money to get you through 6 to 12 months. I think you should not do it unless you can really afford two people, because that having those two people, one, it gives person A comparison for person B. If you only do one person and they're trash, which not all ISAs are built the same, that person's trash, you're gonna think that this is the standard, and you're gonna say that doesn't work. I'm out of it. Or, but when you have two people, you have someone to compare them to, and they jeer each other on, and they stay competitive, and they know if they're falling behind or excelling, and so they'll want to keep each other competitive. And again, it gives them someone to talk to and hang out with and keep morale high. If you've never made calls yourself, you need to know how to make cold calls, and you need to know how to grind through it, because when these guys look to you for, hey, I'm running into this on these phone calls, how do you overcome this? And then you're going to look at them with a blank stare because you've never made a cold call before. Then you're they have poor leadership, so no wonder they're going to fail. So you need to actually learn how to make calls yourself. And then lastly, if you don't have the time to actually spend with them and train them and give them the vision. So every time one of these guys gets a listing or something, like I pop into their Discord and I sound off a trap horn for them, and like we party, and it's awesome. Like you gotta like if you have to make them feel like they're part of something bigger. And so if they're part of something bigger, both through the training, through giving the vision, through all that, if you don't have the time to do that and you just want to hire someone, stick them in a closet, and then never talk with them again, like this isn't for you. You need to do Google pay-per-click, right? So, or do direct mail. This is like you're building an asset. You're building a custom asset around your business, and you're cloning yourself so that you can
Yeah.
get a bigger audience
And you're
and get
building
reach more
culture.
people.
What you're describing
Yeah.
to me, I would describe it as culture, right? You've got a strong culture. You're nurturing it. You're keeping it strong. And as you scale up, you don't want to lose that, right? And you got it, and you're still involved. So yeah, you're building a strong culture and you're representing it. So I love that. Awesome, Tucker. Appreciate you, man. It's been an awesome session. This has been tremendous, right? A really, really good one. And thanks for being, so forthcoming with the community. I love it, man. Appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you, Gus.